websites of the central government bodies. Our speaker is Liudmyla Pankratova, lawyer, director of the monitoring project. Please come on stage. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I'm Liudmyla Pankratova and my colleague Liudmyla Prishka. We are working in the Institute of Regional Press Development Institute, and we started a project on the monitoring of websites of central bodies of executive power. And we monitored the sites. There was some reforming of the sites. And of course, it's very difficult to follow all things that happened during this time, but here is the table, and you may see that those sites that we monitored in 2015 and the rating of those sites. And I'm going to tell you about our research. This research envisages monitoring of information that is on the site at the moment. So what we do, we investigate and research the adherence of state bodies on the information that they should provide on their sites. And with the special article 15 that envisages that there should be information about state bodies on their websites, and also there's provision of the Cabinet of Ministers, and it also provides the criteria. And we made our own parameters. There were 210 of them. It's a little bit less than in previous years because we excluded some parameters from this research, and these parameters we first consider whether they provide whether there should be some sort of information, and then we exclude some parameters that are not necessary for our research. Then we assess the information on its fullness, actuality, and accessibility. And of course, each parameter is important. So the fullness of information, so the scope of information, then actuality, the renewal of information, or it wasn't renewed, or the information is outdated. The next one, accessibility. So we also assess the information, and if you make more than 5 clicks, then it means that navigation accessibility is not in place. And the next one, the information should be in HTML format, and we shouldn't open a document in order to get this information. The access should be clear. So if there's no information in such electronic format, it reduces the assessment of the site, because a person should load this document and then find something in this document, and it increases the time for the work, and it's difficult to find these documents. The next slide. So these are groups of parameters that we established to monitor the openness of websites. So the first group is general information on state body, including contacts. Then we researched structure of this body, whether it's fully presented, then legislation and compliance with legislation, and then how they provide and adhere to rights and freedoms of physical and legal persons. And whether this information is provided in a proper way. Then information on procurement of goods and services for this, for the needs of this body. This information should be presented, and in addition to the loan procurement, we also include the provisions of the loan openness of information. This information should be open, and we continue to use this parameter. We want that state bodies publish their contracts where it is shown what money was spent for different for procurement of different types of goods and services. But the number is low in the sphere of the number of these contracts is low on the sites. Then personnel and also hiring, firing, complaints, and the procedure of complaints on the results of the contest, and also who got this position, and also information about personnel is also not clearly provided. And also accessibility of information, whether the site works properly with different types of and not only simple users should use the site, but also disabled people, they also should be able to use the site. The next slide. And this year, we count these 70 bodies that we monitored this year, 70 bodies of, we see that the openness level is 55%, so a little bit than a half. And the information, about half of information is still not available to people. And the ratings. First, the leaders. State Border Service of Ukraine, 78.42%. And for the fourth year, the leader is the leader of our rating. They made a very good site, and they supported. That's why it is a leader of our rating. And the second place is taken by National Commission that regulate the sphere of communication and automatization. This is 78.06%. And we were surprised that this site got this position. It's very pleasant for us. And the third one, the Antitrust Committee of Ukraine, the rating is 75.92%. And you can see in our tables what ministry got in the best 10. And I want to give the floor to Liudmyla Pankratova. The next slide, please.
Average openness level on parameter groups. So, ladies and gentlemen, if to look at the average level of openness of the state bodies, including contact information, we should know that on these parameters our results are not bad. 80% is general level of openness. That is the state bodies give general information about themselves on a very good level. Talking about information concerning the structure of state body, this information, these sections include structural unit, territorial bodies, these ones that they have, and also information about advisory bodies and enterprises that are managing these or that state body. Here the situation is a little worse, but still a lot of state bodies provided. Average level of openness on structure parameter is almost 66%. This result is also not bad. If you're talking about parameter of assessment of state body activities, here results are worse. Average indicator on criteria how the activity of the state body is well known is almost 43%. Not always on the websites you can find information about the activities of the deputy managers. If about the activity of the manager we can find information almost on every site, we almost can't find information about deputies. Also, there are just few reports about the activities. The statistics is not published, even if they have some. It makes the indicator lower. The separate problem is information about state target programs. Sometimes state bodies even don't know do they have these programs or not. Information on state target problems is very difficult to find, and it influences this indicator of openness criteria. Next parameter is legislation and legislative activity of state bodies, and here it is 54%. We evaluated here how the legal base of the activities of authorities. What do we mean? Every state body should inform and publish the acts about his activities to let everybody to check does the state body make this obligation. And the second issue is practically all state bodies are doing some legislative activities on the issues they should cover in this direction. As you see here, the situation is 50 by 50. It's a little more than 50% in average, of course. You can find it on website. The next parameter is information about the activities of state body in the sphere of providing rights and freedoms of people. Here we evaluate the information connected to submittal of requests for information and answering the questions, and also advices on the issues appearing in the sphere of activities of this enterprise. On this parameter, the indicator is 53%. It's a little more than 50, but still not much. And not very good indicators on the parameters concerning the purchase of the goods, services, products. Unfortunately, not all the information can be found on the website. On the most of websites, we can find the purchase plans, but then there are problems. So we have lack of time already. On the parameter personal provision, 40% openness. Not always it is published. On budget and finance, 34%. As you can see, purchases, budget, finances, there are huge gaps. Information provision and on comfort and of the accessibility of the site and comfort of their use is almost 70% of the openness on site on this parameter. Thank you, Liudmyla. And on the next slide, you can see how informational openness of the sites were growing during the years of our monitoring. For the 5 years, we have 15% growth. It's not very big, but it's stable. And this growth is connected to the fact that we talk to the representatives of state bodies who maintain this website. We send them letter. We are waiting for feedback. And if we didn't find some information, but if we, expert who's supposed to find the information, didn't find it, you can imagine that it's not accessible for the common citizens, but still there is a growth. And on the next slide, you can see how the number of the sites grew with the growth of the openness criteria. Because if in 2012 we had 12 websites with parameter less than 40%, now just one. And if in 2011 only 26 sites have criteria 40 to 65, and the most interesting, on 2011 there were just 3 websites with the rating more than 65%. Now there are 11 of them. It tells us that sites are developed, and this growth is inevitable because all the information goes to the regime of open data. All the information goes to this open code, and in any way the society will be ready or is ready already to go to the electronic turn paperback. And about new state bodies that we monitored this year for the first time, according to the request of the specialist of Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine on human rights. Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine has good indicator of openness. On the second place, there is National Council of Ukraine on TV and radio issues. Administration of President of Ukraine has 53%. High Qualification Commission of the Courts of Ukraine, then General Prosecutor's Office 43. National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine 44, and Central Election Committee 39. Here there is room for perfection. And here we didn't use the criteria from our table. Here we selected just the parameters that are important. And here you can see our rating. And if you have any questions, we will be pleased to answer them. We have few minutes more. Yes, thank you very much for such a full report. And I have a question. Where can I download this presentation? Can we find it online? It will be published online in few minutes on our website of the Regional Press Development Institute. And in the same way, you can find the openness rating and all the ratings for all the years you can find there as well. During weekend, to every website, we will fix infographics because we made infographics for every of them for better visuality, and you can see which information you can find of the website, which one you can't. And also we will write press release based on your press conference. If you don't mind, we will post a link to this press conference on your website. And also I want to thank all the representatives of the state bodies of Ukraine who come to our presentation, who work with their websites, who cooperate actively during this interaction process when we tell them what information is better to post. And a lot of people give additional information. But we can see that there is active contact on the sites only when we push them. When we send the letter, we tell them that we start monitoring them, and after that we can see more content. But our aim is to make the website content regular according to the legislation. If, for example, there is some legislative act, the information about it should be in the site as soon as possible, and we want to do it on a regular basis. I think we will finish our press conference now. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for your work, and see you next year maybe. Thank you.